Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Recover When Something Goes Wrong During Your Presentation. And we've all been part of, as an audience member or even the presenter, when things go wrong, the audiovisual equipment doesn't work, the speaker becomes so nervous, they lose their train of thought. And how do you recover? One of the keys to success is being able to move on, because this stuff happens. We stand up in front of 100 people, 200 people, you do a webinar, a live Zoom conference, and stuff happens. The secret is remaining calm, moving on, and recovering. So here's some strategies to recover when things go wrong for you. Please type your questions in the chat box or the Q&A and I can respond to them as we go. Small group of people today. We've got Sarah, we've got Stephen, and we've got Bill. A few more may join in, but that's okay. Right, just checking my sharing is the right screen. Perfect. How to participate, as I mentioned, ask questions as we go. Take your own notes. We do record these webinars if you wish to review them. Participate by putting in comments, questions, any remarks, examples, and think and apply. Think and apply the information I'm going to share with you to your own personal circumstances. Have you got an occasion when you've needed to recover? You wished you could have recovered? Which of these techniques or strategies can you use? I'm going to move fairly quickly, so do stop me if you have particular questions. One of the things that happens when you lose your way, when your mind goes blank, go back to your core message. And the principle behind this is really quite simple. People are going to walk out of your audience, of your presentation. The audience is going to walk out probably with only one thing in mind. They're going to remember your main core message. So if you forget a story, if you forget a statistic, if you forget some data, then by going back to your core message, you're amplifying what you people to remember, and you're also giving yourself time to recover. What I find is when I forget, lose my way, I go back and reiterate my core message. So remember, the secret to recovering is dealing with it and moving on, staying calm while under fire, staying calm while under pressure, staying calm despite everything crumbling around you, and then moving on. So by going to my core message, which I've just shared with you, that enables me time to recover, to scramble, to breathe, to do what I need to do to move on, to recover, even though I've lost my way. Core message is kind of your safety net. If all else fails, go back to core message. Ask your audience to do something. So this is a little bit of an activity. And one of the things we sometimes do, and I'll just do a new share, I'll share a little model with you. One of the things we can ask people to do is to share some information with them. Is to share the information. I've just lost my whiteboard again. Recover. So ask the audience to do something. And one of the models that we can use is, it's kind of a circle model. And you can tell people to do some stuff. So that is, tell them, you talk to them. And the other thing that we do, as you're seeing now, I'm showing you, this can be a whiteboard, this can be a flip chart, this can be your PowerPoint slides. Ask them to do something. And that can be an internal ask. How would that work for you? What would you do in that situation? What it does is it takes people into their mind. And yeah, how can I use that? What do you think is the biggest problem facing? So I'm asking them, but I can also ask them to do an exercise. Turn to the person next to you, have a chat. How would you deal with that? Turn to the person, I'm going to pause for a moment, turn to the person next to you. What's the biggest takeaway so far this morning? And the other one is, of course, share. And this can be shared with the person next to you, or if you've got a smaller group and you want to facilitate, you can get someone to share. Would anyone like to share their comments? And you get people to share to the entire audience. Be careful when you ask in a bigger group people to share, because they can hijack your agenda. And this is kind of a circle. So if every 10 or 15 minutes you do tell, show, ask, share in a circle, that kind of every 10 to 15 minutes, that kind of keeps people engaged as well. But why I'm showing you this model is because at any time you can ask people to turn to the person next to, share with the person next, have a discussion with the person next to you. I'll give you 5 minutes to brainstorm, and this is your recovery time. This is when you recover. All right. Ask the audience to do something. That's how you buy time. So while you're doing that conversation, I go to my cheat sheet, my notes, my palm cards, whatever I need, and then I realize where I've lost my way. I realize that I've made a mistake, and then I can come back and weave it in without you knowing that that exercise that I've just asked you to do is purely for me to recover. Now, the exercise needs to be meaningful and needs to add value and needs to relate to your core message. So these are exercises that you would prepare in advance that you may be planning to do, but that one that I said, talk to the person next to you, what's your biggest takeaway so far? I can ask people to do that pretty much anywhere in my presentation. The other ones can be planned ones, and if I'm running out of time, I might not put that exercise in. If I'm speaking too fast or moving too quickly, I might do more than one exercise to stretch a little bit of time. So having 2 or 3 activities that relate to your core message that you can get your audience to do is a brilliant tool to have to help you recover. You can let them go to shorten time. You can add more in to lengthen time. So it's a really valuable tool. What are some activities that you can ask your audience to do? The next one is pause. The thing with pausing is that we can pause for a really long time. So your mind goes blank. You're trying to work out, where am I going to go next? Just pausing enables you to gather your thoughts, to regain composure, to appear to be calm, even though you're under pressure. During the pausing, you can obviously do some deep breathing. Helps you relax. The thing with the pause, while you pause for a long time and you feel, oh, that's a really long time, I've given away the game. People can see that I've lost my place. A long pause to the audience only seems short. So the rule of thumb is you can pause for double the time you feel comfortable. In other words, you can feel that you've got an abyss of silence, a big gap that you're drowning in of nothingness. That's okay. Use it to breathe. Use it to stay calm, because the audience only sees a small, reasonable, structured pause. The other thing is just take a sip of water. You've gone blank. You really don't know what you're going to say next. Move over to the lectern, wherever, grab your glass and have a quick sip of water. Similar to a pause, it gives you those 3 to 5 seconds to just take stock, to gather thoughts. Maybe I do need to do an activity. Maybe you're going to recover. Maybe it doesn't matter if you don't remember the statistic or exactly where you were going. It's time to move on anyhow to the next stage in my presentation. You can go to your notes and you can let the audience know that you're going to the notes. Look, I want to share with you a quote from Winston Churchill, and I don't want to muck this up, so allow me to read this out. So Winston Churchill said, "If you can stand on your feet and speak to a group of people, you possess one of the most powerful skills known to mankind." Of course, he's talking about public speaking, your ability to stand up, engage an audience. If you can do that, powerful skill. Maybe you've got some statistics. Look, I want to share with you some data on mental ill health. I want to share with you some data on family and domestic violence across Australia so they don't get it wrong. Then you go to the notes. So every 5 days, someone in Australia loses their life as a result of family violence, or whatever your statistic is. So you can go to your notes. You don't need permission. They're there for a reason. They're there for your backup. So they're another safety net. So your core message is where you go to when you don't have notes, when you don't need notes. The other notes, when you go to, when you want to be precise, you want to be exact, quotations, statistics, information that you don't want to get wrong. I was watching Daniel Andrews, Premier of Victoria, speak this morning, announcing no new COVID cases and the end of the lockdown at midnight tonight. And while he speaks mostly to the camera, he has his notes. And when he went to some data, he had to go and look down and look at the data and get the numbers right because he doesn't want to give misinformation. Remain calm while under pressure. So part of this is, and I guess Amy Cuddy, if you've ever seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, fake it till you become it. Remaining calm while under pressure is scrambling, recovering, while smiling, breathing, and looking confident. In other words, I've lost it. I've got no idea where I'm going, but I'm going to smile, remain calm, and my non-verbal communication is going to be such that I don't give the game away that I'm now struggling. I now need to go to my notes. I need to go back to my core questions. This is great, especially for job interviews, especially for Q&A, question and answer. You've done your presentation. You now got some hostile questions. People don't agree with you. They don't like what you've said. It's about remaining calm while under fire. How do you do that? Your deep breathing, your relaxation, not giving the game away. What do some people do, especially at job interview? And I've been the chair of hundreds of job interview panels. I've interviewed thousands of people. And when they get a difficult question or they're struggling, the fidgeting comes in, the small body language comes in, the the ers and ahs, the filler words, the slouching comes in and the eye contact goes haywire. That's what you don't want to happen. So it's using the physiology, the non-verbal communication that shows that you're calm while under fire. You can make a joke about it, especially when you get to my age. We call it a senior's moment, or I can call it a senior's moment. Look, sorry guys, it's completely gone. Not sure what I was going to say. I guess I'm getting older, and when I speak off the cuff, you can make some other joke about it. What do you do when your mind goes blank? Making a joke about it is really good when technical things go wrong. I've been at a mine site where we've had power outage. All of a sudden, mid-presentation, the power's gone. We're in darkness. Can I demonstrate that for you? Yes, you've now gone black. Power's out. Well, you can still see me, but the PowerPoint slide's gone. So one of the things that I did was, can everyone put their hands up and wave their hands around in the air, please? I believe that many hands make light work. And by light, I mean the lights come on, as opposed to the burden of doing the work. The more people you have, the easier it is. And everyone laughed and the lights didn't come on, but that broke the tension. And we were able to open up the curtains, pull up the blinds, and there was enough natural daylight for me to carry on presenting. My PowerPoint slide was gone. The videos I was going to show couldn't work, and it took an hour and a half for power to be restored, but I was able to go on and finish my presentation because I had a set of notes and a set of printed slides up front that I could refer to, and I could go to a flip chart and a whiteboard, and I did share a whiteboard with you just a while ago with that tell, show, ask, share, and I was able to recover that way. And by making a joke about it helps you show people that you're calm while under fire. Things are gone haywire. This is not what I planned, but the joke and the humour helps. Once again, if you're not spontaneous, many hands make work just came from nowhere, have a couple of lighter stories, jokes that you can share that you've prepared in advance. Finally, in contrast to making a joke of it, look, sorry, I've just lost my way. I've had a senior's moment. The other thing that I would recommend in the majority of cases when you need to recover, don't mention it. So Sarah, Stephen, Ben, you don't know what I'm going to say next. Unless you're a mind reader or unless you've done this exact webinar previously, and I haven't run this webinar before, you don't know what I'm going to say next. And if what I'm going to say next disappears from my mind, you don't know that it's disappeared from my mind until I tell you. And what I see is people make the mistake of saying, oh, sorry, where was I? Look, I've momentarily lost my way. I'm sure it'll come later. What was I saying now? Oh, I can't remember where I was going. And what happens after they've made that announcement, generally within 5 or 10 seconds, they say, oh yeah, that's right, I was going to. And if they hadn't mentioned it, they would have recovered seamlessly without me even knowing that they'd lost their way. So this is part of remaining calm while under fire. You don't need to mention that something's gone wrong. The light's going out, you can't not mention that. People arriving late, 10, 15 people walking in, banging, clattering, that's a disruption. You need to acknowledge them. I had someone join a little bit late on a workshop I ran earlier this morning, welcomed them in and just moved back on. We've just done a recap so far, and I don't let it disrupt the rest of the people who've arrived on time. Just acknowledge, move on. But generally when things go wrong, you forget something, you put your foot in your mouth, unless you need to apologise, you don't mention it. So here's a classic example. When I present face-to-face, one of the things I like to do very early on is acknowledge the traditional landowners. And here in West Australia, it's the Noongar people. In Perth specifically, it's the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. When I go up to Port Hedland, which is next week, so the Garryari people, I will acknowledge the Garryari people and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. And I'll mention what a pleasure and privilege it is to be here on this land. When I'm in Bendigo, it's the Dja Dja Wurrung people. When I go to Swan Hill in Victoria, it's the Wamba Wamba people, etc. Sometimes I forget, and then 5 to 10 minutes in, I've done a bit of an introduction, some housekeeping, I realise that I haven't acknowledged the traditional landowners. I will pause for a moment and I'll say, look, before I go on, I would really like to acknowledge the traditional landowners, pay my respects to the elders, and let everybody know how privileged I feel being here on this land. And then at lunchtime, I often speak to people and say, oh, did you notice my muck up this morning? Everyone says, no, what muck up? I said, I forgot to acknowledge traditional landowners. They said, oh, no, you didn't. You acknowledged them. I said, yeah, but it was later on. I should have done it earlier. Oh, yeah, you did too. Oh, look, I didn't notice it. So don't mention it. You'll get away with it. 99.9% of the time, you will recover. And you can weave it in later on seamlessly. So in summary, as we wrap up, when things go wrong, when you need to recover, go back to your core message. Get the audience to do something. Turn to the person next to you. Form groups of 3. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, 5 minutes. During that time, you can recover. Pause, breathe, take a sip of water. Go to your notes. You can announce that you're going to your notes, or you can go to your notes while they're doing an activity. Remain calm while under pressure, so no matter what happens, power goes out, still remain calm. Make a joke about it. I'm not very funny, but I can still sometimes joke about the things that go wrong. And you don't need to mention it. You will recover. You can move on. So if you don't announce your muck up, your mistake, nobody will know. So what's coming up? In March, 2 webinars as per usual. 5 fail-safe steps to writing a great speech. So while we do our presentations without notes, we do have notes there, written notes, a written speech. How do you make it a great speech? And the great written speech generally becomes the start of your practicing for your presentation. 6 bad habits that public speakers get into. So they become a little bit blasé, a little bit spontaneous. What are the habits to avoid? So they're coming up in March. We have got some workshops. Port Hedland, 22nd. Assertive communication skills. We've got women in leadership in Perth in March and in Bunbury in March. All of our websites are on, all of our workshops, events are on our website, www.corporatecommunicationsexperts.com.au. My name's Peter Dew. It's been a pleasure having you on this webinar. So remember, recovery, you can practice, you can prepare for recovery. Things will go wrong. Don't let the fear of something go wrong be a reason you don't do more public speaking. And by having these recovery techniques up your sleeve, you can walk on stage, you can put your hand up to run a seminar confident that you'll be able to get through regardless of what happens. Thanks, everyone. Bye for now.